Well, hello, pilgrims. Hello, hello, all of you beautiful, lovely spirits. Hello, darlings. How are you all? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Things are popping in the world. And I, for one, am getting tired of people saying I don't get anything right because I get most things right. Go back and see what I said about Mom Donnie and what he was going to do as soon as he showed up. I didn't know. I don't work for Mom Donnie. I just did a remote view. I used the empath technique, and when I did, I found myself doing what I could to deal with the emergency of people being evicted in New York. It's called HCRV. That would be an example. HCRV is a technique where we can get into the mind of someone, even an opponent, and have a pretty good idea we know what they're thinking, not by projecting our own bias onto the person. We don't want to project our own bias, but by genuinely putting ourselves in the shoes of somebody else. Well, what does it feel like to be Donald Trump? And I felt like, as Donald Trump, that I wasn't going to be able to keep this charade going much longer, as they say. And I felt that there were only a number of things I could do to get control back. Like, I felt as Trump, I needed to get my control. I need to get control. That is how I felt as Donald Trump. So anything he does right now is a desperate attempt to get control. Con artists, we talked about con artists, they'll lie, they'll steal, they'll do anything, but they will never admit that what they did was wrong. They'll keep the con going while you're showing them the receipts. There's no remorse. They're not afraid. They don't feel bad because they've been caught. No, they don't feel bad because they've done something bad. They feel bad because they've been caught and they have to pay the consequences. When members of his own party are pressured to justify the killing of a soccer mom because some guy was in a bad who worked for ICE, who was poorly trained, was in a bad mood and decided to shoot her. Um, Oops, that's what she gets for dropping her kid off at school and getting in the way. I think that a lot of things happen. I think that the average Trump supporter in Iowa that was on the fence, if they were on the fence before that, they're definitely not on the fence anymore. And we can see that with some of the information that's coming out about places like Iowa, with some of the poll. Iowa tells us a lot about how middle America is doing, and Iowa is not happy with this president. Right? Now, I want you all to welcome our latest whimsy. Our latest whimsy is Tarot Sharona 262. All right. Oops. Hello, darling. How are you? My Sharona. Tarot by Sharona 262. Tarot by Sharona 262. We welcome you. We welcome you to the Oracle of Whimsy. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining, for signing up to this wacky channel. We appreciate you. This is our brunch. This is our brunch. Gosh darn it. And we've been together almost 5 years. 5 years of brunching together. Think about that. 5 years of brunching. 5 years of me extending my brunch table to the four corners of the earth so that you can have brunch with me. At first, it was one or two people, but now it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people have joined us for brunch. And we sit around and we talk about whatever we want to talk about. What you eating, what you drinking. Today for breakfast, I had, excuse me, got to clear my throat. I have not cleared my throat yet today to talk. This is the first time I'm talking. I apologize. All right, folks. I'm going to tell you what I had for breakfast, and I think we need to have a conversation about this. I decided to add creatine to my diet. I'll pour my tea and explain it to you, darlings. Okay, now listen. I decided to add creatine 5 grams, a scoop, to my morning smoothie. Doesn't have a taste. Now, why is creatine important for seniors? Because it helps build muscle and protect brain health and mood. Particularly if you go above 5 grams. But that's not what I wanted to talk about, which I put in my smoothie. So I had my Protein and Greens by Paradise. Protein and Greens by Paradise is the best protein and greens because it gives you the adaptogenic herbs, the adrenal supportive herbs, and all of the other good stuff. The immune supportive mushrooms, as well as 24 servings of fruits and vegetables. It is a super food smoothie. Nobody has a better smoothie than Protein and Greens by Paradise. Okay, folks? So just trust me. You can get it on Amazon, but if you don't like Amazon, go with iHerbs. All right. I did 1 scoop of Protein and Greens, 1 scoop of creatine, 1 heaping tablespoon of peanut butter powder, ground flax, a handful of walnuts, a handful of organic mixed berries, half a medium banana or a third of a large one, depending, and unsweetened almond milk. All right. So I blended it together, and that was my morning breakfast. So if you're asking me what I believe is the healthiest breakfast for the human body, particularly when we start to get to be seniors and we want to be as nutrient dense as possible, I would say Protein and Greens by Paradise Herbs. Again, you can get it on iHerbs or Amazon. No, I don't work for the company, but excuse me. But I do strongly believe in this product. And I would add creatine. In terms of oil, I do Nordic Naturals omega-3. When I can remember, I do a full tablespoon because I often forget. So I try to do a tablespoon at least 3 times a week, but that's not ideal. So creatine and omega are 2 supplements that are great for your brain, as is vitamin D, which can help with seasonal affective disorder. It's not a full replacement for being in the sun, though. So when we're looking at vegans, vegans may live longer than non-vegans, but as a result of that, we're also seeing high Alzheimer's rates in vegans. And we think it's because of deficiencies in omega-3s, so we want our vegans to make sure they're getting walnuts, flax, chia, hemp, and also supplementing with omega-3 liquid if you have to. And also keep your protein up, because that can also, you can always supplement with branched chain amino acids if you are vegan. And that's also, you'll probably feel a lot better if you're supplementing with some branched chain amino acids. So tell me where you're coming from, what you're eating, what you're drinking. Like I said, that was my smoothie. Here's my complaint. I could not open the creatine bottle. Thorn Research, right? You unseal it. I tried to unseal it. I was down on my knees. I used a towel. I could not open the creatine from Thorn Research. Then I had one of those fancy things you wrap around a jar and then you go like that and it untwists the jar. I've got one of those. That didn't work. You know how I had to open my creatine but from Thorn Research? I took a knife and sliced it on the side and put a hole around the side and took the top off. So that's my complaint to Thorn Research is great product, but could not open the creatine. And I was, of course, thinking, is this a statement about me as a woman that only you think only men with big burly arms can open this creatine? You don't think that a senior female might be buying this product? Make things easy for everybody. Like some people literally, I'm one of those people that cannot, not all of us are burly guys that can open those jars. They got to make it easier for the rest of us. All right. So a little bit about what is going on today. We've got a lot to talk about. Looks like tons of people are here now, so we can go ahead and get started. We're going to do some blitzes. We'll do a collective reading as well so that everybody gets to know what's coming for the week. We have a new charity per request by all of you that we do something about the homeless problem. And or not the homeless problem, the where is it? Oh yes, on the bottom of where people are talking, below that you should see a donation button, and we're raising money for survivors of domestic violence, women and children. We were asked to do a shelter, and this is the Joyful Heart. And it helps get women and children back on their feet after they've escaped domestic violence, gives them a place to live. But a Joyful Heart, it does more than that. It supplies job training, clothes, and a safe place to land while people heal and get it together and recover from the trauma of domestic violence. So if you feel that anything of today's show is entertaining to you, think about donating to Joyful Hearts. All of the work we do on Sunday is donated to the charities that you select. And someone had asked me to do this, and I can only go with what's available on YouTube. It has to be there are certain standards, and not everything gets into the YouTube, but 100% of what YouTube collects goes to the charity. And anything else I need to say about that? Yeah, so we donate our work today to charity, and we're happy to do that. And that's what we've been doing on Sundays 5 years now, right? So you can proudly say, if you're a part of this community, that you have helped to raise literally hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last 5 years. So we thank you for that. Okay, so let's talk about, people had said that you don't get things right. You don't get things right. You get things wrong. You get things wrong. Look, I cannot predict the time nor the place, but I can follow the energy as a remote viewer and give you a pretty good rough idea of how things are going to go down. This was a remote view I did. And the question I asked myself when I did this remote view was, what do we have to do to keep people from dying? Remember this? This was submitted to the Israeli Defense Forces, and also a copy was sent to the White House and State Department under Joe Biden, December 23rd. Now, the remote view, I did not use supercomputers, and I did not use anything. I just used the meditative state, and this is what I came up with. And then afterwards, I went to Grok and ChatGPT to find out if I was right. And then I coalesced the data and sent it to different people, like the 8200, which is the security division of the IDF that checks its tech group. It checks data. Check my data, check my data, check my data. And I got it right. Joe Biden adopted the first three. Whimsy got all three right. Ceasefire, exchange of hostages, release Hamas prisoners. Now, how does he speak? And we get to rebuild. That's what he said. Phase 3, you get to rebuild. Right. So it continued on with Trump's 20-point plan. Now we are at phases 4 and 5 should follow. If you follow what my meditation told us, we should be seeing the fall of Putin. Putin should fall next. And the best way for him to fall would be for us to put hands on him and try him in the Hague sooner rather than later. After Putin is gone, we'll see the dismantling of Iranian leadership with the fall of Khamenei, possibly fleeing to Moscow, which would be the worst possible place for Khamenei to go to because Moscow is falling. Now, remember, this was done in 2023, December 20th, 2023 at 3:53 a.m. As many of you know, I do my remote viewings at night before the sun comes up, often at this hour. I'll be doing research, data collection. I'll do a remote view, and then I will sit with the computers to try and figure out what the hell is there any validity to what I'm seeing here? So this would be an example of getting it mostly right. Now, why am I worried? I try not to worry you guys. I try not to worry you guys. I don't want Iran to fall before Putin. 100% they're following the 5 phases, right? We can see that now because they've already adopted 3, and we see the 5th happening, and we see the 4th happening. Why am I concerned about Iran falling before Putin? Because Putin is cornered, Putin is desperate, and Putin has nuclear weapons. So Putin sees Assad fall, right? So Syria fell. Syria was an ally of Iran. That was a good hint that we were going to start seeing the 5 phases when we started seeing their allies collapsing. Venezuela, before that, Libya, right? These are the allies of the Axis, right? Syria, Assad, right? Putin was gone, right? Putin's people were gone the following day, right? Heck, they were probably gone the day before the bombings happened, right? Let me put my tea down. Now they're saying there's no Russians in Damascus, right? Fair weather friends. Fair weather friends. Why are we afraid, though? What happens if Iran, the government is toppling now? The government is toppling now, excuse me. So put yourself in Putin's shoes. How would you feel right about now? You have probably some version of the 5 phases. And you see phase 5 happening. So how are you feeling as Putin? Exactly. You're paranoid as hell. You're paranoid as hell. Your colleagues have lost their countries, right? They're off. Maduro is probably going to get a visa to Moscow also. Is that going to help him? No. Nope. So remember how in the cards we kept getting the 8 of Swords for Putin, the 8 of Swords trapped, tied up in knots? Do you feel it? Do you feel that energy? Those of you who are remote viewers, those of you, I've got some HCRV students here. Put yourself in his shoes. You see this, and for sure somebody has given you a copy of the 5 phases in some version. How do you think you're feeling right now? You're feeling pretty damn scared, aren't you? So, for those people who say Whimsy never gets it right, that would be an example of me getting it right. I said that Trump would be finished. What I heard was that he would be finished in 5 months. I didn't hear clarification, but that he would be finished in 5 months. And so I decided, well, what the hell? I'll just go ahead and tell you what I heard. And 5 months after I heard that, we saw the collapse of his base. So we have the collapse of his base. We have him officially now as a lame duck. He has no congressional support whatsoever. Right? This isn't fun. And so the only thing he has left is executive order. And that's not going to help him either. Why isn't that going to help him? Because the courts are going after him, right? So he has no power anywhere. He doesn't even if he tries to go with executive, they're coming after him because his own people have come after him because he no longer has Murdoch. He no longer has Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? So it's the beginning of the end. Here's another one we got right. What does Putin want? This was filmed 6 years ago. We talked about this one as well. Back when I had that thick Russian accent. What was that?
Home Depot
Was that a Russian accent? What kind of accent was I stuck with when I was Putin for like 3 months? You guys were being driven crazy. And we went into an in-depth discussion at that time. So you guys get impatient. You want the proof now. Where we talked about me being focused on this area. I didn't know why I was focused on this area. I simply knew as a remote viewer that this is where the target, the location was. So when I meditated on him and put myself in the shoes of Putin, and I became him, this was the area I was focused on. What I came to understand afterwards was that there was something called the Nord Stream pipeline, and that he was shutting down other oil revenue, Venezuela oil, shutting down the oil and trying to open up the way to be a competitive oil source. And in fact, that's what we saw. We saw Turkish Stream. We saw the takeoff of that, and we saw a war actually that resulted from that. We also talked about this relationship between Putin and his allies, Turkey and Iran, and how we would probably see a collapse of these relationships. Here he is. That's with Turkish Stream and Iran to get the trade out on the Turkish Stream. There it is again. Here is the pipeline that caused all the controversy. We talked a lot about that. And we talked about how he basically made deals with people in positions of power to get his oil out. Excuse me. Sorry. It was all about getting that trade out. These are some of the countries. Sorry, I'm having an allergic reaction to something. The last thing we talked about the church and the power of the church and the corruption of the Eastern Orthodox Russian church. And that they had been paying, and this was not public information, that the mob had been giving a portion of their spoils and had been using the church to launder money and to hide money. And we predict that relationship will come to an end as Putin desperately attempts to collect his money, because Putin is broke. Excuse me. So Putin is broke. And because Putin is broke, I'm going to take one of my Ricola. He has no more money anywhere other than the money he hid, which was laundered in his church. That's also not public information. So he built up the church, and the church was well loved by the mob and the oligarchs because they were laundering through it. They reopened the church doors and hid their money there, bribed people. Yeah, I'm fine. I got something. It felt like dust in my throat. I got a piece of dust. It's probably a hair. My cat rubs against this, and sometimes I'll get a hair. I know it drives the audience crazy when it happens. Apologies. Oh, you found the creatine at the bottom of your cup? Yeah, so that's some of the stuff that we predicted. Then we talked a little bit about some of the stuff that we had predicted for here in the US was that eventually the Republicans would have to cut the head off the beast, that they themselves would have to be the ones that would have to take down Trump. And that's what we're seeing. Or what I call cutting the head off the beast, the monster that they have created. It's the thing that makes me, there's two things that make me nervous right now as a remote viewer. The desperation of Putin, who has nuclear weapons and knows we're coming after him. That has me nervous. This is why I would have preferred phase 4 happen first. The computer agreed with me when I went and checked that phase 4, it should be Putin. It makes me nervous if it's not. Now all of his friends have fled to Moscow and they're sitting there with a bunch of nuclear weapons. Is this really how we wanted this to end? He should have been gone 2 years ago. So something has happened to keep that from happening. And either he's under just incredibly, I know he's under unbelievable tight security. The other reason that nothing may have happened was because the intelligence agencies were afraid of his nuclear weapons. You know, we are so afraid of Putin's nuclear weapons that it could have had an impact on whether or not we were able to go in and take this guy out. You know what I mean? So that's scary. Are we being terrorized into this? You know what I mean? That we can't get rid of Putin because we're too afraid to go after him. That's my concern. Sorry, I'm just getting my second phone fixed here. Makes sense? Otherwise, why wouldn't we have followed? Why wouldn't have we have done it the way the computer suggested? I'm sure they're getting the same data I am, same computers, right? So why didn't they? Why aren't we? Unless Putin is in worse shape than we know, evidently they took Putin's oil, right? His oil tankers got taken yesterday. Is that right? I know Joel is really good at this sort of thing. So it was always about trade, you guys. And I think that we just have to realize that it was always about trade. It was always about Putin's oil. It was always about shutting down his competition, which is why Venezuela has no oil. We're completely sabotaged because yay, Putin succeeded. He sabotaged them. That's what he wanted. Makes sense? Hey, no competition. Venezuela shut down. Brazil shut down. Beautiful. If he can't personally make money off of it, if it's competition for him, right? He'll just put Bolsonaro in there or Maduro and just shut the whole party, pay them to shut it all down. Party poopers, right? All right, you guys. Looks like everybody is here. Would you like to get a collective reading today? Exactly. Given what you now know, that this was always about Nord Stream, it was always about oil trade routes, are you surprised that NATO took Putin's oil tankers? Of course not, because you already had all that information, right? So you're ahead of the curve. But yes, the worst case scenario is that we're closer to a nuclear disaster if Putin is desperate and isolated. And if we've taken out all of his allies. He doesn't really have any more allies, and China has said they're not going to get directly involved with Ukraine. So he's basically screwed. Who does he have? His big supplier was Iran. Well, there is no longer an Iran, not the old Iran. It's up. It went up, and so they you know, it's unlikely they can come back from this. It's unlikely at this point that the supreme leader Khamenei will not flee to Moscow. It's unlikely at this point that NATO will not be in Moscow. The only way to avoid NATO marching on Moscow is if the Russian government takes control of Putin. I know it seemed fantastical when I talked to you about these things 6 years ago. Which is why maybe you feel like it never happens. Well, it's happening. Just have to be patient. All right, so I think we do the empath's prayer. We do a collective reading, and let's just see where the chips fall. Does that work for you guys? They had no choice. If you just looked at it as a pure math problem, I looked at it as a remote viewer. I looked at the global trade. I looked at where it was headed. How do we keep people from dying? Had they bothered to put it into five simple steps? Maybe they had, I don't know. Certainly they have now, because they came to the same conclusion I did, clearly. So the math held, is what I'm saying. And that's what happens when you do meditation or any kind of remote viewing, is that you're going to be able to see your brain working better on a problem. That's my point. Not that you're always going to be right when you come up with creative ideas. Sometimes you're going to come up with an idea that seems brilliant, and then you're going to try it out and you're going to realize it wasn't a great idea. But meditation and remote viewing and putting yourself in the shoes of other people can be very fruitful. It can be a wonderful way of finding solutions to all kinds of problems. All right, without further ado, we're going to go ahead, do the empath's prayer. If you'd like to receive a healing at this time, please go ahead and give us your name or the name of someone else you would like us to pray for, and we will include them in our prayers today. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively as a community, we say Amen. And for those of you today who have requested a healing, we come together as a community at this time and we pray. We pray that you and those you love receive a perfect healing in mind, body, and in spirit. And together again, collectively, we say, Amen, Amen, Amen. May all souls be healed. May all souls be healed. So, how I felt as Trump was that you know, if I'm having this kind of a power struggle and I'm losing control, you have to think about how does this type of a personality deal with someone that they can't control by being cruel, right? Whether it's a girlfriend or a wife or a constituent or someone on his cabinet. Do what I say or there's going to be consequences. That's kind of how this person play. He is a malignant narcissist and his true nature always comes out. So now he is in a situation where Congress is saying no to him. And so there are consequences as far as Trump is concerned. But can he's smart enough to realize he can't exact revenge on everybody, right? So he will try and seduce. The Knight of Cups came. Hey, I heard so and so. He'll try and be friendly. So he will get his henchmen to start making phone calls. That's what it looked like. Call so and so, call so and so, call so and so, or I'll call. We'll all call people to try and hey, maneuver you a little bit. And then when that doesn't work, I'm sorry, we can't do it, Mr. President. Oh, yeah, you can't do it? You can't do what I want you to do on January 6th? Well, then take him out and hang him, right? So that's what we're dealing with. So expect Trump to retaliate. And how it felt to me, how he was going to retaliate was like a child who refuses to leave Target without his toy. And I agree with Mary Trump. I think Mary Trump, his cousin, is very astute. I think she has his number. I think she knows because that's precisely who I am when I put myself in the shoes of Donald Trump. I am a mentally ill 2.5-year-old child being terrorized by a psychopathic father because my mother's in the hospital with endometriosis, right? So that's definitely the mental state you get into when you're Donald Trump. And this is somebody who is responding under extreme stress the way a 2-3-year-old would. So refusing to leave. So he went back to Mar-a-Lago. Can we get you to come back to DC? No. No. Can you stay here? Right? You might start to see that. No. I'm picketing, right? Sitting on the floor of the Target until I get my truck. So this is what it felt like for me remote viewing him. Also a real fear of being picked on. So as a 2.5-year-old with this frustrated, angry father and no mother to clean up the damn mess, I didn't want to be the target of my father. So Robert became the target. Mary, this person's, yeah, what's your problem? So when my father would say something, yeah, what's your damn problem? Yeah, what's your damn problem? Yeah, to survive, I joined in. I'm going to be a bully too, just like him. He can't make fun of me because I'm with him attacking you. So it was a survival technique. Right, Dad? We got this, Dad. Yeah, it's you and me against Robert, you and me against Mary, you and me against Mom, you and me against the world. And so he got brownie points with his dad. And that is what he teaches his henchmen, right? Getting good with dad. Marjorie Taylor Greene's the target now. We're going to get in with dad and we're going to beat up Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, I'm with dad. It's one of those kinds. So when people that work for Trump say, he's kind of like an alcoholic father, that's what they're talking about. This person that needs to pit this child again. Hey, you're not playing my daddy's game, huh? Well, I smack you around. I get the other kid to smack you around. It becomes that kind of a game. And I think that that's what she was talking about. All right, let's see about the collective energy for the week. Great to see you all here. And again, just to let you know, we are raising money. All the money that's collected for today is donated to charity. That's just something that we do. We've done it for the last 5 years. We're very proud of that. We've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for everything from organizations like feedamerica.org to americanforest.org to Southern Poverty Law Center, you name it, Child Protective Children's Defense Fund we've raised money for, as well as Children of the Night. And now we're raising money for shelters for women and children. So thank you, everyone who, if you're having a good time for those donations, I know they will be happy to receive them. All right, let's take a look. Forgot to say hope for paws and senior dogs. We also raised quite a bit for them. Center for Policing. We started the Rodney. Oh no, was it the Rodney King? Which one did we start? And then it got matched by Google and they gave it, Google donated $1 million. So that was really cool. Yeah. It's nice when you can be part of something like that. No, it wasn't Rodney King. It was long before Rodney King. What am I saying? Floyd, George Floyd. I don't know why I said Rodney King. My apologies, George Floyd. I'm feeling a lot of stress right now in the country, and you may be feeling it as well. There's more to life. If you yourself are not being directly affected, and if your life is as good as it ever was, don't sweat the small stuff right now. America is winning. I know it doesn't feel that way, particularly after Miss Good lost her life. So we're just, I mean, maybe it had to get to that point of just the sheer absurdity for people to snap out of the insanity of this president. But people are snapping out of it. I keep seeing J.D. Vance as the president. I don't know what the hell he was thinking by actually justifying the killing of Miss Good, because if he has half a brain, he understands they're pushing him to be the next president and to push Trump out as soon as possible. They understand he's a lame duck president. They might have been able to have gotten some policies through Congress if they could get rid of Trump. It might not be so antagonistic, right? So if they had half a brain, they would be talking to J.D. Vance about not talking like that, right? But we have this incredible stress over the nation. I feel there's also a lack of leadership. This is something that's come up before, is that we've had a lack of leadership. I don't think we've had strong leadership for a very long time. As much as we loved Joe Biden, that we always knew that it was going to be a problem for him to run a second term because of his age, which is why a lot of people that were concerned about fascism and the rise of fascism in America looked to Germany as its playbook. When in Germany you had an aging chancellor, right? The chancellor was aging. Hitler came in as his understudy, basically, and then the chancellor died, and that was how Hitler got into power, was because the chancellor was simply too old. And so there was this fear that history could repeat itself if you had an older candidate like Biden. And unfortunately, that's what happened. If Biden had been younger, if we'd gone with somebody younger, like who was a good candidate at that time. Buttigieg might have been too young, but and Harris dropped out pretty soon. Where we are at right now is a time of firm decision. So they're really encouraging everyone to move away from emotionalism right now. Now is the time to move away from emotionalism and instead move towards logic. This is a time of logic and reason. The King of Swords comes in as a time of logic and reason, and to view things almost as if you're a surgeon. Like, I'll give you an example of what it is to be a surgeon. I would much rather lie in bed and watch YouTube videos and then do what I know I need to do today. Number one, I have to take a bunch of returns to Amazon drop off. Who the hell wants to do that? I don't want to schlep all the way down the street to Whole Foods, which has the Amazon drop off. Like, I don't want to do this, right? Or the fact that I have to clean my refrigerator. This is something I have to do today. I have to clean my I don't want to, but the dread of doing something is worse than actually washing the damn dishes. Oh, I gotta. Oh, I gotta. No, you're miserable from the dread of washing. When you actually get in there and start washing the dishes, it's kind of soapy and it's not so bad, right? So King of Swords is that energy that comes in when that's asking you that right now you need to just be logical about the work you need to do. 10 of Wands is a heavy load, like, oh my God, whatever burdens you, I am put upon, ladies and gentlemen, I am put upon, right? So it's the heavy burden. Now is the time to be reasonable and logical and do not burden yourself. 9 of Swords is to be burdened, up at night, stressing, possible even sleep disturbances. We see in your karma card, King of Pentacles, which also is the card of J.D. Vance. I'm telling you, J.D. Vance is coming in. I can't imagine any Republican strategist would think that backing Trump right now is a good idea. It makes no logical sense that anybody would back Trump right now as a GOP strategist. He's going nowhere and there's no future with him. So why would you have anything to do with him? It doesn't make any sense. So the GOP is not with Trump, not the GOP strategist, not in a very short amount of time. Because he's already lame duck. He cannot come back from it, and he can't. There are no bills that are going to be passed with this president, with this Congress. It's just not possible. He's already lame duck because so many Republicans have already abandoned ship that they only have 5 additional seats, and 2 or 3 of them are out in the hospital, and the other 15 have defected. So the guy doesn't have a lot of power here, if any. He still has executive, sort of, but the courts are winning, which is causing him to be very upset. So he doesn't have the media anymore. That's the other thing, is that Trump no longer has the media, and when you lose the media, you've lost, and he's lost the media. The only thing keeping him up right now is maybe Elon Musk, but it's certainly not Murdoch. There's a tower coming for Donald Trump. There comes a point when your polls are so low that you cannot recover from them. And one of the things that's come up for Trump is that his numbers are so low, he probably cannot come back from it. Like, he's now in the mid-30s, right? He took a real big hit last week, right? He took a really big hit with his polls. Catastrophic. There's 7 points, according to some. I think Gallup has him at like 35 right now, 39, 35, something like that. So it's pretty bad. How can Trump win people back? I don't think he can. I also keep seeing a health crisis over Trump, that he could experience another health crisis. It could be coming with the flu, adult respiratory syndrome, or something of this nature. But what your advice to do during this difficult time is to simply be logical and reasonable about your situation and deal with your things calmly, even if the world is falling apart around you. Keep your life simply right now. Get rid of and sell anything that does not serve you. Let it go. Eight of Swords would indicate that a lot of people are feeling stressed out because of taxes. That makes sense because it is January, right? So we're all doing I'm doing my taxes. No bueno. I don't like it. It's not fun for me, right? So a lot of people may be feeling kind of stressed out over the finances. That's okay. We will come through it. We will get out of it. I just think that people need to just focus on themselves right now. I feel this optimism is coming to the country. Despite everything that's happened, people are getting excited and happy about 2026. I think because they sense that it's the end of Trump. The seventh house is the immediate environment, and it's the sun, and the sun reveals, it sanitizes, it sterilizes. Impetigo, when kids would get these infections, they would have to sit out in the sun, right? And the sun would kill the infection, right? So the sun sanitizes, the sun exposes, the sun can be hot, and the sun can be bright, and it can be an expose. In that sense, the energy is really positive in the coming weeks. Despite everything, people stressed about money, the economic collapse. I'm telling you, that energy over Trump. I think, I don't know whose analysis, it might have been ProPublica, but somebody had analyzed that his numbers were so low, it's unlikely when a candidate gets numbers that low that they can come back. And I think I think it's something like below 40%. So I think Trump has reached numbers that he can't come back from. Let me check. That's what they're saying. There's this tipping point, and he reached it. He reached it, and I think that the GOP knows it. It's like something that statisticians talk about. There's a tipping point. He's at a 50.5 approval rating on the economy with registered Republicans. That was another tipping point, is that if he gets to 50 or dips below 50 with his own party, he's in trouble. He's yeah, he's in serious trouble. So his numbers, he ended up dropping. They didn't have enough numbers anyway, the Republicans, right? They didn't. What numbers did he have? He who cares? There were not enough people are Republicans anyway that he wouldn't have been able to have won. According to Reuters, which tends to lean more Republican and be biased, he's at 42%. So and that's one of the better polls for him. So Morning Consult gets mediocre reviews. It is used to do meta-analysis, and he's at about 40%. So yeah, he's at that point he really can't come back from. And I think that with these rising protests that are happening everywhere in Minnesota, etc., this kind of sun of sanitation. I'm a little worried for you guys about stressing out about your economy. I would say clean your home from top to bottom, like start with a refrigerator if you're like me. And you're going to feel like you're getting more control over your life. The opposition exposing things. So you have this sun, and then you have an evidence card or the building of real estate, developing of real estate. It can be evidence in a court case. Yeah. You know what's also taking out Trump is this expose on his wife, that she slept with Epstein, the fact that she can't there's so much evidence that she slept with Epstein, that she was in that industry, in the type of an industry. And now she's suing Michael Wolff, and of course Michael Wolff can prove that in fact, yes, you are a prostitute. You were a prostitute. You did sleep with these people, and yes, I can prove it. So now he's like, sue me. So now she's in this situation as well, where there's all these pictures that are starting to come up and exposés about Melania, right? But the thing that comes up also, I feel that Buttigieg is coming in the future. I feel that we will see the rise of Buttigieg again, and I don't know in what capacity, if he'll be a senator or the president, but his presence is very strong energetically. The truth will come out in the coming days, and nothing will be hidden from the American people. And that many people's lives will be destroyed from this expose, and many people will be crying, and marriages will end. A great feeling of heartbreak and depression over this expose that's coming. And the American people will not have an ounce of compassion for the people that get exposed. And I feel that a great man is coming to heal this situation. And I don't think it's Gavin Newsom. I know you guys love Gavin Newsom out of California, but this could be someone different. Mark Kelly, maybe, or Buttigieg. But there's this energy coming to the nation within a year or so. We have the King of Cups arising with an Ace of Swords. As we move away from whatever this was, we move towards something really great. The King of Cups carries the Ace of Swords. I wonder what that's about. The broken man leaves. Justice could be denied. A pardon, possibly. But then this man comes with the Ace of Swords. I don't know. I'll vote for anyone who's a Democrat at this point. All right, that's the collective read. So, in terms of how it applies to you, just get your house organized, be frugal, keep it simple, and do not let yourself get stressed out over any of this stuff, because this president is falling. I'm telling you, he's below that percentage. He can't come back again. He is like done and dusted. Done and dusted, as they say. Yeah, Trump popularity polls. The only time, his popularity polls were almost this bad right before he left. And the Times has a poll on him also, but he's doing pretty bad. Yeah. You know what's amazing is just how much people forget how terrible he was. So, net approval rating, first term. Let's see, I'm just looking at it. It's so interesting. They're looking at his relationship. I was looking at the Sunday Times. Yeah, it's the economy. Ultimately, human beings are selfish, and it's always about the economy, isn't it? All right, let's take a look at some questions from our floor director, Joel. Israel and America are bracing for attacks by Iran's remaining Islamic army. Yeah, they might as well surrender. It's already over. But let's go ahead and take a look. Because they had no choice. I mean, we had no choice. If you look at the pure math, both regimes, Putin and Khamenei, had to fall because they were threatening nuclear war, and it was too big of a risk. And we are 2, 3 minutes to midnight, and they were not going to stop their nuclear. They were not going to stop the building a nuclear weapon. And they had destabilized. Never mind what they were doing to their own citizens, murdering women, raping women. Women were being murdered for showing a strand of hair. I mean, never. It was a long time in coming, this revolution, right? The people will get their wish. So, yeah, it's over. A heavy load lay ahead. Many people want to return. So there's a huge thing about people returning and new financial investment and opportunities, a new beginning. Looks like it'll be over sometime around spring of 2026 with Uriel coming in, and his time is usually he's new beginnings and pathways is with Archangel Uriel. So I'm saying sometime around spring, expect to see a transition, and the fleeing could happen relatively soon. But look at this, we're seeing brand new investments and new financial opportunities because the sanctions will be over. So they'll see immediate economic relief, which is great. Will Cuba and Colombia have regime change by Trump? Probably yes. Let's take a look. Cuba. It wasn't sustainable. It wasn't sustainable. There's a lot of bad feeling here. You get the impression there's a lot of bad feeling that they don't want to do business with Americans because of what America did to their economy. So there is a lot of bad feeling there. Yeah, they will continue to have sanctions. There are wealthy businessmen that want to invest in Cuba and work with possibly Republicans and independents that want to open up business with Cuba, but that won't happen until the next administration. Yeah, it's probably collapsing. You can see here the opposition 10 of swords and the 8 of cups. But they're not open. Look at that 4 of pentacles, that poverty, and that 2 of swords. It's going to take a long time for them to be feeling good about the United States. They blame the United States for embargoes and everything else they've been put through. But eventually, after the collapse, we'll see people investing in Cuba again. Is the Shah back in Iran now? No, not yet. He's probably in France, probably in Paris. Let's take a look. Shah will be back in power within 1 year. And yeah, his family's coming back. And there's something about releasing the prisoners. There was something about him not coming back until there was a guarantee that the political prisoners are released. I'm picking something up about that. Mm-hmm. Give it a year. Might take a full year before he has complete control over it. Either that or it's the month of January, because the month of January is the Ace of Swords. It's the first. It's a sword is a 1 year period. The month of January is also the Ace of Swords. So if you're thinking about a card for January 1st, Happy New Year. It's the New Year baby is January, so is the Ace of Swords. Victory within 1 year is the Ace of Swords. Be patient, victory within 1 year. So it could drag out a little longer than we had wanted. Or it could be happening right now in January. But they're saying patience leads me to think it could take a little while. Interesting, huh? Thank you for doing this, Joel. Thanks for helping today. Will Senator Kelly be demoted by Pete Hegseth? What a nut job. Pete Hegseth. Good God. Why is he even still there? I'm surprised he didn't get fired. Senator Kelly. Let's see what's going on with Senator Kelly. Confusion. Ball of confusion. And tension, fighting. Hopes and fears, a sacrifice. And then final outcome is a race, a competition. No, the competition, the race is on. Also race card. Hegseth will try and make nice because he wants to have a political future. Senator Kelly thinks he's insane. He's dangerous and he's insane. And he can't do anything openly against Senator Kelly, but he might try and do something privately. The Knight of Cups can be a false knight. So, yeah, Pete Hegseth could create. Pete Hegseth is insane, so it's possible, but Pete Hegseth also has to be very careful with those cards, you know. Will ICE protests result in changes with ICE procedures or protocols? I think that orders are going to come down from angry people in high senior positions of senior members of the Republican Party are going to order and demand this come to an end. And Trump is going to run with his tail between his legs back to Mar-a-Lago, which he's already done. And I'm not telling you, duty face. You're a duty face. I don't have to go back to work. Nah. That's where we're at. Now, come on, little Donnie. You know we love you. Come on back. It is, no, we don't. Leave him there. You know, like the less he's involved, the better, right? So let's see about the future of ICE. Yeah, they mad at him. They mad at little Donnie. Mm-hmm. No more Mr. Donnie gonna stay. Oh my God. They're extremely angry about what the fuck is he doing with my money? There is this kind of lashing out that I feel about the issue of the money. So people don't understand what's going on. The big money people don't understand what the heck he did. How stupid can you be? The man has been bankrupted how many times? They're concerned about their money. Heartbreak. The thing that broke his wealthy investors was ultimately the sing-song back and forth. And it's all BS. And meanwhile, they're watching their investments tanked. The his policies are driving their businesses into the ground, and it's creating a lot of the profits. Seven of Pentacles, the profits from the businesses. This came inverted, by the way, which is not auspicious at all that you would get a positioning like this. This is like, I'm losing all my money. It's that kind of an energy. And then you had this show up. So if you're asking me the main thing that is pissing off the GOP, it's my damn money. I'm looking at my money. Where the hell is my money? Well, honey, don't worry about all that. I got it all cut. Where's my money? Honey, we got when you start to realize that you've been the victim of where is my money? Oh, you're acting crazy, girl. Why are you acting so crazy? Relax. This is the dynamic you feel between Trump and the GOP. So will the ICE protest result in changes? Sure, because if somebody's granddaughter is crying their eyes out, my own granddaughter's down there. It has sunk in. But the thing that really pissed them off was when they lost their money. The boat sank. Six of Swords inverted. But I'll tell you something else about an inverted Six of Swords that you guys might not know is that swords correspond with years. And so an inverted Six Swords would indicate rocky waters for many years to come over the issue of finance. So that answers your questions. The rocky waters, many years come, rough waters. Many smooth waters come, Six of Swords, straight up. So yeah, it was ultimately, they started to feel like he was pathologically lying about everything. They really thought that they had control over their finances by voting for him, and he is wiping out their businesses with tariffs, right? He's lost the farmers. Yeah, I mean, he's right at 50% on the 51% happy about the economy. What did I hear recently? There are no more red states. Every state is up for grabs. Is that what Bernie is saying? Every state is up for grabs. After hearing the stuff coming out of Marjorie Taylor Greene's mouth from Georgia, I totally agree with Bernie that all 50 states are in play. He's right. Bernie's right. People care about whether they can feed their kids, right? Okay, it's reported today that assassinations of top Islamic Republic leaders in Iran are ongoing. Will Khomeini leave shortly? I think, yeah, we determined that he was going to be out, and I think that he's been given safe passage to Moscow. But because the fall of Moscow is phase 4, or the fall of Putin, which could be the fall of Moscow if they don't hand the guy over, Moscow's the last place in the world any of us should be. Yeah, it's coming again the same time, spring. This is what happened last time. Yeah. Though it's looking like it could happen any day. It's that crazy right now. Will Trump attempt a complete takeover of Greenland? No, I think he's going to be stopped. Who's going to go along with that? That's so crazy. Who would go along with that? Who would be so crazy that they would think that makes, and what would be the point? Why take over Greenland when you can just have a contract with the Danes in order to drill or whatever it is you're trying to do, unless Denmark, for environmental reasons, is blocking you from drilling? Then you might just take it. We're going to take it because you're trying to protect the environment of Greenland. So we're going to rape Greenland and take all of her resources, right? Because we need those rare minerals, right? And that whatever, crude oil. I feel humiliated as Trump. I feel like I ran back to Mar-a-Lago, whimpering like a 3-year-old boy who's being picked on. I feel like I went back to that trauma. Everyone's picking on me, and I don't want to go out and play now because you're picking on me. You hurt my feelings. That's how I feel as Trump. That's why I went back to Mar-a-Lago, because it's easy. You're me. You're me to me. You a duty face, right? This is how I feel. So it's cold. It's cold. It's cold. Yeah, it's nice and warm. I could play. I could play with my ball. When I go golfing, I could play with my ball. It's nice and warm. So, no, I think that the issue, it looks to me like it was probably an environmental thing that more than likely Denmark had strict rules, and also indigenous people. You have to respect it's their home. You don't want to be leaving them to live in a bunch of crap because you've been drilling in their backyard, right? So people have certain rights if you're going to be drilling in their house, right? So that may be what's going on with Trump. And but some kind of deal can be made where we don't hurt the environment, where we can still possibly do lovers as we work it out. Yeah, I don't think lovers is war unless you've got like a 3 of swords and a 10 of wands or something. All right, well, Jesse Ventura run for governor of Minnesota again. Isn't he a Republican or an independent? No, he's an independent, right? I'm surprised he's still alive. Didn't he have a bunch of health problems? Well, he feels like he could win pretty easily, but I don't think he can. I think that this everything that's happening in Minnesota is very good for the Republican Party. If he really, how old is Jesse Ventura? His cards are pretty good. How's his age and health? Let's find out, because I would think he's 74 years old. He had Lyme disease. He's in good shape, having lost significant weight to around 220 from his wrestling peak, emphasizing his mental sharpness and continued feisty attitude. He's in great shape. He's dealt with health challenges like Lyme. All right, so he's in good shape. His cards are very good. I'm going to be completely honest with you. He's got an Ace of Wands, which for a candidate is great. It's like, we're going to win. I'm in that battle. I got that staff. I'm going to take it. Also, lovers reaching across the aisle with a 2 of Cups means that people would be, that he's likable. And Page of Pentacles, Archangel Gabriel supplies the work, right? So he has the job. If he runs, there's a very good chance he'll win. How do you guys feel about that? I think he's if he's an isn't he live and let live? I don't think he's home. Is he homophobic or anything like that? Like, I would look at his policies on women's and gay rights, because some libertarians don't care. It's not my business, not my ball, not my business, right? Kiki Friedman, he didn't care. So it depends on what kind of libertarian. If you're talking about a conservative libertarian, or if you're talking about a liberal libertarian who's like live and let live and legalize weed and to each his own, in which case that's a very different. But I think Ventura is pretty liberal, if I'm not mistaken. He's not an arch conservative, is he? Anybody have the answer on that? I should probably be Googling this myself. Ooh, there's a lot of comments. Y'all be saying hello, a lot of you. Oh, you served with Jesse Ventura? Oh, wow. Yeah, I don't think Ventura is, I think he's pro choice, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? I know what, Yes, Jesse Ventura stands with a woman's right to choice. Why? Because illegal abortions will not stop abortions. It will just make them dangerous. Why support abortion rights, Jesse Ventura? Yeah, okay, so he's one of those folks. I'm cool with that. A lot of liberals are physically conservative. We don't want to waste our money on senseless wars. I mean, yeah, I think we want it to go towards the people. That's pretty left of center, so I'm okay with that. All right, let's see here. Yeah, why do we have to put our money on war? We should put it on education and taking care of our citizens. All right, let's see. Is Putin really serious about ending the Ukraine war? Oh, did he say he was? Well, he has no choice because we're at phase 4, 5, and so he either leaves or he will be taken out. And I think that's pretty obvious to anybody who's looked at the data. So, how do you guys feel about it? You're smart. I'd like your opinions. I can just tell you what the remote views show, and then if I double check it with computers, which I try to, um, when it comes to Trump, that he would lose favor, and that eventually he would be asked to step down, most likely by Lindsey Graham. That he would lose his own audience, that they no longer can support him. That's what I saw. That he would run back to Mar-a-Lago, because that's how I felt as him. Nobody loves me anymore. You don't love me. I'm going back. Take my toy with me. Putin, Ukraine war. A new beginning starts for Putin. He feels trapped. Okay, so Zelensky has offered to create oasis zones. And I think that that's a great idea because an oasis zone is economically beneficial for Ukraine and Russia. So he wants oasis zones to be constructed at the border and to be overseen supply security by a third party, possibly US military or NATO, so that people can go back to work in a safe zone. So half the people would be Russian, half would be Ukrainian. This is similar to the oasis zone concept that's being built on the border with Israel and Gaza, right? It's this idea that if you create theoretical safe zones where people can just get back to work over time, you will have a soft border because of this idea that once the needs of the people have been met, violence will subside because the needs have been met. And that's what we saw with the Marshall Plan out of Japan, and that's what we will likely see in Ukraine, and that's what we will likely see on the border of Gaza. What's cool about the border of Gaza is that it doesn't take place in Gaza. It takes place in the no man's land between, I think it's currently Israel actually, and that's the land which would be available for people to build new lives because once the terror is gone, the oasis can thrive. Here is a general map, or actually, it's pretty specific, of how most likely those oasis zones will look in Gaza. We'll see a zone here. We've talked about that, which will be built in North Sinai. That will be probably gifted by the government of Egypt. Right now, again, it's just a bunch of military to try and protect from the terrorists. But when the terrorists are gone, there's no reason we can't rent a little land there. And then you can see the aquifer right here. This is an oasis zone, Shalom Kerem. Here's Nir. This is going to be a huge family village. The next generation. Here is Sderot. Here is Erev 1. And here's Erev 2, the pier. Right? Pretty cool. That's cool. And you can see what everything is going to be right over here. If you want to read a little bit about how the land is going to be used. So I think Zelensky thought that was pretty damn cool. Yeah, that's cool. Why can't we do that in Ukraine? Sure, you can. Because oasis zones are the hottest idea out there, right? This is why the Abraham Accords wants to build them as part of its new transportation system. Why can't Ukraine do it? So this is what Zelensky has put on the table. He says, I'm all for practical. I want this war to end. And the only way we're going to do it is by building these kinds of zones. And he's right. Because then the people's needs will be met. You don't have to be a criminal if you've got a nice house, you live in an oasis, right? In terms of how Putin feels, a new beginning is coming. Sorry, got this thing in my throat. A new beginning is coming for Ukraine. Oh, I know what it is. It's this candle. I love it, but it's. I'm having a reaction to the. I'm gonna have to turn this off. Yeah, I'm having a bit of an allergic reaction to the candle, I think. I think that Putin feels kind of tied up by this whole thing, if you really want to know the truth, because he's going to have to build those oasis zones that Zelensky wants. Great. We'll share in those areas. You don't have to kill any more people. We'll bring in a third party to oversee. Well, no, I don't want that. I want it all for myself. But he is going to be pressured into this because you can see that Eight of Swords coming in for Putin, hopes and fears the star, and then the final outcome 30 days. Look, if he agrees to build oasis zones on the border, he can say that he won. He can make up some BS. And no Nazis will be allowed in the zone. Of course, there won't be any Nazis in the zone. Yes, right. No, not. Then he can go back and he can save face and say to his people, yes, we're getting a whole zone in the Donbass, and there won't be any Nazis. And then he can save face with his own people. But it looks like something he's being pressured into will be resolved in the next 30 days. Honestly, I think he has no future. I think that the data would show he has to be removed for security reasons. We're going to constantly be walking on eggshells, worried about him having a temper tantrum with nuclear weapons. It's not feasible. It's not sustainable. Yeah. Thank you, Tarot by Sharona 262. Tarot by Sharona 262. Thank you for being a member. Much appreciated. All right. Was the Minnesota ice shooter suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder? Well, anybody and everybody seems to be hired. I see advertisements for ICE every time I'm on YouTube. Oregon is looking for ICE people. It's like, oh my God, who are you hiring? We'll give you $9 an hour to go and shoot people, right? No experience needed. He was angry and fed up about things. There was this. I get the impression that he had a lot of anger that. Oh, he's being advised to only talk with his attorney. He's got a Two of Swords there. There's some kind of a procedure before he joined what ICE and government would be willing to do to protect him in the case of illegal evidence against him. And being told, I think he's angry that he's not getting as much protection as he thought he would be getting over the issue of evidence. And he was just a pissed off, angry guy before this happened, to be honest with you. I get this impression energetically that this was somebody who was just pissed at the world. Trump's assistant? Who's his assistant? I thought Laura Loomer was his mistress. No? Not Laura Loomer? Hello, Kansas. Deborah Murphy in Kansas. I just saw that. He's like a child. You know, when you go into his sexuality, he is a little boy that wants to be comforted by a woman with big breasts just like his mom. You know, that it has that kind of um he's a child. You know, it's a child's sexuality. And you know, it's always from his perspective what he needs. Oh, wow. So they raised 1.5 million for Miss Good, is that right? Start sending money to the 2 people in Portland. Who shot the people in Portland? I didn't know anything. Didn't they go to their house or something? Oh, you haven't had breakfast yet? My cat woke me up at 5 in the morning, ready for breakfast, and like, "Leave me alone, leave me alone." I become really mean to my cat. "Go!" And then she's like, "Go away, go away, go away." And by then it's too late, you're awake. So I'm like, "Oh, you're right. I'll just get up, it's 5. I'll put the silencer on the violin and rehearse the violin." So I did that for 45 minutes, made myself a coffee. Yummy, that looks really healthy. Yeah, that one's the best one that I've found. Um, just I'm a naturopathic doctor, so I'm always looking for I used to work at a pharmacy, and people would say, "What's the best protein shake?" And I was always looking for the best protein shake, the most nutrient dense, the most nutrient dense thing that I could find, particularly if you're somebody who is busy, anybody who wants to make sure you're getting good nutrition. And I found this product, 1994. Yeah, pretty cool. 29.99. So you can see the price is pretty reasonable, for 15 servings. If you do half a scoop of this with half a scoop of peanut butter powder, it'll go 30 days. And just amazing ingredients, you know. You're getting all your immune boosting mushrooms, your probiotics, your stress harmonizing adaptogens, as well as your berries. Pea protein, if you're okay with that. It has the carbs taken out, so it should be easy to digest. But don't start with a whole scoop if you're having digestive challenges. Peanut butter powder is easy to digest because the oil has and the fats have been removed, making it so you might do okay with a little bit of protein powder. But I would start with a teaspoon if you feel like you're having trouble digesting it. An oxygen radical absorption capacity is the ability of something to clear a free radical. So when we're talking about protein and greens by paradise, its oxygen radical absorption capacity is extremely high. It's through the roof. So we know just based on how it scores that it's good for cancer prevention and also prevention of Alzheimer's. We don't want you to rust, right? Also heart health. And this is another example of what it has in it. It's the peas, the juice powders, etc. So, yeah, so I put in some walnuts for additional omegas. I'll put in some flax seeds ground. I'll put in some almond milk, some mixed berries, and some protein powder, and that's usually my daily shake. I feel like I need extra protein. I'm one of those people. I don't want to rely on animals for protein. I wish I could be vegan. I just don't feel well on a vegan diet. So that should get you some basic information about, just what to have for breakfast if you wanna take good care even if you're not perfect the rest of the day, if you can do one thing that's good for you, that's what I would recommend. Yeah. Alright, I guess we're gonna call it quits. I think, we got to all the main stuff. I don't know, I just see Trump running away. Yeah, I use almond milk unsweetened. Oat milk has a little bit too many carbs, I found out, so I switched. Flax also is low in carbs and really gentle on the ecosystem, flax, because flax is used both for creating linen and cloth as well as food and oil. So it's a really good eco-friendly it grows wild. So flax is really good for you. It's good for the environment. Amy Klobuchar's prospects as potential governor of Minnesota. Will she be nominated? Oh, I think she's an excellent choice. I think she's an excellent choice. But then we lose her in the Senate, and I don't know if I want to lose her in the Senate. Let's take a look at the future of Amy Klobuchar. Coconut milk is fine. Yeah. Can you taste it? No, start with a teaspoon. You don't have to bombard yourself and go, "Oh, it's terrible." Well, did you start with just a teaspoon? No, I did a whole scoop, and if you're not ready for it. So, berries. Do you like peanut butter? Do some PB2, what's called PB2. Y'all know what PB2 is? All right. So, say for example, you're trying to be mostly vegan because 'cause you're smart, trying not to hurt your heart or other living things, and so you decide to do a protein shake, a teaspoon, start with a teaspoon of the protein and greens, and then you can put a heaping tablespoon of the Simply peanut roasted peanut powder, no added sugar or salt, and again, if you're looking at nutritional breakdown, 70 calories with 9 grams of protein. So, that's good. You can do all kinds of things. Again, if you're a vegan, you can put it on things. It's just coming up with creative ways that you can increase protein in your diet, you know? And that's nice. That's a nice, when we're looking at nutritional density as naturopathic doctors, we're looking at the bang for the buck. How many nutrients, how much nutrition are you getting per calorie? Right? So that's pretty good that we would be getting 2 tablespoons is only 70, but you're gonna be getting, 9 grams of protein. So, if you're the average adult, you say you need 80 grams of protein a day and you're trying to reduce animal protein to just, say, 1 chicken breast a day and then everything else vegan, that's pretty good because a chicken breast gets you about protein in a chicken breast protein is what, 20? So 43 grams of protein in 1 chicken breast, 1 cup diced. So that's cool. So 50% of your protein would be from the plant kingdom, and then just 1 chicken breast a day is all you need for animal protein, and then the rest you would get from plants. You know? And then you may get to a goal where it's your digestion is so strong that you can get all your protein from plants, but many people have weak digestion, right? We have weak digestion, and so because we have weak digestion, we can't always utilize the nutrients in plants, and so for that reason, you may start off with some boiled chicken in your diet or fish or something that's an egg white is the most bioavailable protein on the planet, so just egg white has no cholesterol in it. Humanely raised, cage-free, and Start where you're at. But the idea is that your greens, beans, onions, berries, mushrooms, nuts, and seeds is the base of your diet, and you're still not quite there with your proteins. Go ahead and have, a chicken breast, or half a chicken breast is going to get you to 20 grams. Putting half a chicken breast on your salad with greens, beans, mushrooms, berries, nuts, and seeds, you're not going to feel that weird feeling of having your protein be too low, and you're going to be getting mostly plants in your diet. And that's really the diet we're pushing people towards, most physicians that are concerned about health and heart disease. Yeah. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. We're going to do a quick one about Amy Klobuchar and see what her chances are of governorship. And then I guess we're going to be out of here. Thank you, everyone who donated to our charity for women and children's homes to raise money for women and children who are victims of domestic violence. Thank you so much for those donations. All right, we're out of here with one more question. Amy Klobuchar. Hi, Paula. Hi, Tishy. Oh, I'm so glad you guys had a good time. I don't know, I feel that I feel as her, if I become a governor, I leave DC, and I don't know if I want to leave DC. It's a problem for me as Amy. I've as a remote viewer, I have been Amy Klobuchar. I have been Amy when she was running for president, and I want to stay in DC. I found myself on a treadmill, and I had tennis shoes and a skirt on, and I was exercising with tennis shoes and a skirt, and I was walking on the treadmill, and I had a mantra, and the mantra was, "My name is Amy." My name is Amy. And I always win. I always win. My name is Amy. And I always win. Get out of my way. Yeah, get out of my way, Pete. I'll knock your socks off. My name is Amy and I always win. So it became a running joke, with my friends, because every time I would trance and try and be Amy, I always win. I'm Amy. I'm going to knock your socks off, Pete. She was an unbelievably competitive person that I went into. And it was funny to see the dynamics between her and Pete afterwards. Like, yeah, you're not even slightly competitive. She's really competitive. My name is Amy and I always win. I thought we could do like a jazz version. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Like a smooth Amy. We got to make her smooth. My name is Amy. My name is Amy, and I always win. I always win. My name is Amy. Yeah, so we could do a whole musical just on the 2020 election. Was that 2017 elections? She can be whatever she wants to be, but I feel when I put myself in the shoes, because I am so competitive, and I always win. I'm gonna get you, Pete. I don't know if I'm so close in DC. I'm so close to that White House. If I go back to Minnesota and I'm the governor, yeah, sure, but I'm not in DC. And so for that reason, she may say no to it. Jesse Ventura might be a good choice. It evidently, even though he's physically conservative in some way, he's very liberal in others, which I think is great. Yeah. All right, you guys, thank you all for being here. If you're trying to get in for a tarot reading with me or a medical consult with me, all that information is below. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you too. God bless. Peace out. We'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.